tell you my experience using both these cameras. So this is a Canon EOS R and this is a Canon EOS R5. I used the Canon EOS R for about 1.5 years and the EOS R5 for a couple of months. At the end of this video I will show you some examples and tests that I have made with these two cameras. I can tell you, well, what is better in this model and why you shouldn't or you should upgrade. So my previous camera before the Canon EOS R was the 5D Mark III, and when I upgraded I felt, well, it was like a miracle to me, because this camera can shoot any video without almost any restraints. Well, the biggest restraint is the 4K crop mode, but nevertheless, well, I've shot lots of 4K videos with this camera and I was totally satisfied. Well, the biggest issue is just to find appropriate optics, appropriate lenses that will fit your needs. My auto-go lens for cropped video is Canon EOS 18-135, and this lens sits quite well on the Canon EOS R. It has a great zoom range, and well, if you have nice lighting, it performs quite well. But now I have the Canon EOS R5. This camera has no 4K crop, but many people talk about the overheating issue here. Well, concerning overheating, it depends on in which mode you shoot. So it overheats in the mode in the high quality 4K, which is downsampled out of 8K. So in this mode, this camera is, according to my test, worked for 37 minutes, and then it shows you the temperature limit indicator and you have to wait. But this is in that high quality mode. You can also shoot full frame 4K video without oversampling, and it won't overheat, but it will be just a bit softer than the other one, which is a high quality mode. Also, you can shoot 4K crop mode, which is the same in terms of sharpness as that one with the overheating, but it has a crop, but it also has no overheating. So if you have a goal to shoot something, I don't know, for an hour, maybe 2 hours, you can just switch into other mode and feel yourself quite comfortable, and you can also get very sharp results. Or indeed you can shoot in that high quality 4K, which overheats, but you know, 37 minutes, I'd say that for most of my videos this is quite enough. For example, like this video, I suppose it will be like half an hour. This is an average time for my YouTube reviews, and it's for me this time is, well, it's fine. But again, if you know that you have to shoot for a long period of time, there are lots of video modes where you can shoot and have no problems with overheating. And I don't think that attaching here some kind of fan, some additional cooling system is a nice idea, because the camera will be bulky and, well, I don't like such thing. I think that the camera should remain compact. Again, concerning the video features, of course the R5 has better video, but how much better? Well, this is a matter firstly of personal taste and of your expectations and what you need and what you want to do with this video. Because if you're going to publish those videos in Instagram, then well, Canon EOS R is already an overkill for those purposes. But if you want to have the best 4K, the sharpest 4K video, yes, the Canon EOS R5 enables you to have that video. But 4K out of Canon EOS R is also quite nice. To my opinion, is better than that one that gives us the Canon 90D. It has nice rich colors, yes, the crop mode, but well, I just switch to the focal length that I need and I have no problems with that crop mode. I've started talking about video when I have two cameras, well, which are essentially photo cameras. But nowadays, well, all manufacturers, they have this challenge whose video features are better. Because what concerns the photography, I believe that even older cameras can produce very nice results, and you don't have to upgrade very much if you're just a pure photographer. Because, well, what they give you as for a photographer is a nice autofocus system. You have the eye tracking, which is quite fast on both of these cameras. For those people who haven't tried Canon EOS R, I can assure you that the autofocus here is really, really nice. If you're a photographer and you don't want to pay extra, this camera can deliver you nice results. It has really nice RAW files and of course the autofocus system, because the R5 has the dual autofocus system Mark II, so it's a Canon Dual Pixel 2. And of course it's a bit faster. It has that bird tracking mode. It can track the eyes of animals, but personally I'm not an animal photographer. In terms of speed of autofocus, well, you know, in all those comparisons, when you compare the cameras, usually they show you two cameras side by side and just tell you, well, this is faster, buy this one because it's faster. But relatively to what? And what are your needs? Not just that comparisons between something and something. If we talk just about your needs, I believe that the Canon EOS R fulfills the needs of, well, almost, I think, every photographer and almost every videographer. Well, as for video, some people want that full frame 4K. I don't agree with that. In terms of video, I don't think that if it's not full frame video, then it's rubbish and it isn't worth anything, because presently I'm filming myself using the Fujifilm X-S10, and this camera, it's a crop camera and with a kit lens, simplest and cheapest kit lens, which is 15 to 45. It's a plastic, well, it's just really cheap lens, but nevertheless, when you put some nice lighting, it's quite okay, and it's a crop camera. So I don't feel that, you know, many people just want that full frame 4K, and if a camera doesn't have this, they don't want this camera. They think that it's crippled and it's impossible to shoot anything nice with it. And I totally disagree with this opinion, because more important is how you shoot, how you edit this video, the lighting and all this stuff. Full frame sensor is, well, in terms of photography, I believe that it has more importance. Although even in photography there are lots of genres that don't require necessarily full frame sensor. But we have here two top full frame bodies. Both are closed with a shutter that is put down here. I have here two adapters. So this adapter has circular polarizer filter in it, which I use for interior photography, and I really appreciate this possibility to use it with any lens. And here is my new kit lens for Canon EOS R5. It's an old Soviet lens. I will make a review for it. It's called Industar. It has 50 millimeters and the aperture of 3.5. And it's quite sharp. If you stop it down to 8, it will resolve this whole sensor from corner to corner. It's really sharp. At open aperture at 3.5, it's quite nice when you shoot, for example, some interview or blog like this, because in center the sharpness is quite nice, and it has its own feel and bokeh and so on, as many other old lenses. What I want to say that it's not necessarily to buy top RF mount lenses, which are of course very nice, but I don't agree that you need the most expensive lens in order for your camera to work well, properly, and to, you know, to use it to the full extent. My second kit lens is the Canon EOS 40mm f2.8 STM. This lens is very sharp from corner to corner, from 2.8, and it is really lightweight, and it always sits on any of these cameras. So it has autofocus. I shoot my reviews with this lens, and for me it's the lens number one just on these bodies. R5 has certainly an edge over the Canon EOS R is a slow motion video, because the Canon EOS R has only 120 FPS in HD mode and 60 FPS in Full HD mode, whereas this camera can shoot 120 FPS in 4K, which is definitely much more, and its quality is quite nice. And also this camera can make RAW video, which is just another topic which we can discuss in different videos. So in terms of video, of course, this camera has much more features. The question is where you're gonna need those features and how you're gonna use them. because I will say you frankly how I did. Why did I buy the Canon EOS R5? I bought it to make reviews for this YouTube channel, because for my work, which I do, I'm a commercial photographer and videographer, the Canon EOS R is a completely perfect camera, and it does the job. It has all the features that I need. It has the autofocus, it has 4K, it has full frame, full HD. It has, yes, it has, well, the slow motion is only full HD, nice slow motion is only full HD, 60 frames per second in full HD, but it's also okay because all the footage that I give to my clients is in full HD. The 4K content, I use it on my YouTube channel. If we compare some raw files out of these cameras, you'll notice that the EOS R5 has bigger dynamic range, it has more megapixels, it has 45 megapixels against 30 megapixels here. But, well, it depends whether you really need all those features or you just want to play with them. And I admit that I just play with them. I enjoy the additional features that Canon gave us, but in terms of practice and in terms of some, well, rationality, this camera is just an overkill for its price. It's really good. I think that this is the best mirrorless cameras on the market that you can buy now. Even better than the newer Sony A1 that was recently presented. But I also know that most people don't use their cameras to the full extent. Some people just buy cameras because of great parameters, because they want them to be great. You know, like a new phone, well, new smartphone that has some additional features that just bring you joy and nothing more. And same for these cameras. So if you want the top what you can get now, of course the EOS R5 is nice, but if you count your money, if you don't want to spend more, then the EOS R is just perfect. Some people, they have doubts that the previous dual pixel autofocus is, well, whether it is works, whether it is fast enough. What I can say that this is just a pure marketing. When people see something new, they automatically think that the previous model is just a piece of junk and you shouldn't buy it because it cannot fulfill any tasks. But at the same time, many people don't have any certain tasks. They just want a nice camera. And, well, of course, in terms of the best camera, this one is the best. But in terms of ratio, well, how much you spend and what you get, I believe that the Canon EOS R is a better value for money. I'd like to also mention some changes that have been made to the EOS R5. Many photographers waited for this joystick and for this wheel, because for some people, well, if you don't have the joystick and the wheel, the camera isn't professional, you just can't shoot with it. Well, I am not one of them. Yes, these controls are simpler and, well, they're in some way they're abridged, because this camera has more buttons and, yes, this joystick and this wheel. Yes, of course, it's nice when you have this. But it's just a matter of taste and what you're accustomed to. If you're ready to spend extra to get that joystick, okay. But for me, you know, it's just a matter of your habit. A friend of mine works in a local photo store, and he tells me that neither of them will buy the Canon EOS R because absence of this wheel and joystick makes them just cry. I personally don't think that this is a big deal. Of course, this is more convenient. Yes, I like that they gave us those features, but I don't think that they're worth paying extra. I also want to talk a little about the Canon EOS R6, because this camera, it sits somewhere in between these two. It's cheaper than the R5 and more expensive than the EOS R, but, well, it all depends on the price. But in my opinion, the R6 isn't worth it, because in many ways it's crippled. Well, it doesn't have this LCD screen on the top, and I adore this. Well, you know, it's also a matter of taste. Some people can't live without the joystick, and well, if I buy a full frame nice camera, I want this screen. I just don't understand the camera over $2,000 that doesn't have this screen. By the way, this concerns all the Sony cameras. No matter how expensive they are, you will never get this screen. But as for the R6, people are appealed by the fact that it has the in-body image stabilization, same as the EOS R5, and the Canon EOS R doesn't have the stabilization. Because R6, well, it seems that it is somewhere in between, but essentially for me, in some ways, it's slower than the Canon EOS R, both in terms of video and photography. Well, the screen, it's a matter of taste, but it has only 20 megapixels against 30 megapixels here, and they've compared those RAW files in my previous reviews, and well, to me the quality on the R6 is just a little worse than here. That's what I see. Then the R6 has crippled video modes because it doesn't have AV and TV modes for video, so you have either automatic mode for exposure in video on the R6 or the manual exposure. Yes, you can put the auto ISO, but it doesn't save the situation. R6 has that joystick and that wheel. Yes, the Mark IV users will appreciate this. But for me, well, if you're looking for hybrid camera, and the R5, well, all these mirrorless cameras are hybrid cameras for photo and video, because if you're just a photographer, I don't think that you have the necessity to buy one of these. As for photography, the main feature is the eye tracking. Yes, it saves your time, and it's really comfortable when you have lenses with a shallow depth of field and with aperture like 1.2 or f1.4 or something like this. Yes, the eye tracking, eye autofocus is very nice. But apart from this, well, Canon 5D Mark IV is a really nice camera, and 5D Mark III is also a nice camera. I don't really agree with this eternal challenge to buy the best one, the newest. I repeat myself, but in terms of photography, even older cameras still produce a really decent result. Mirrorless bodies are really interesting in terms of both photography and videography. And the EOS R6, to my opinion, is too expensive, it's too crippled. If you want to step into the mirrorless world, then I think that you should choose between these two, between the Canon EOS R as a model which is really best as for value for money, and the EOS R5 as a top camera, which is not crippled, where you have all the features. I agree that it's even more comfortable than the Canon EOS R. It has better EVF, which is really fast, but this EVF is also good, but this is faster. It doesn't have that shutter lag, which annoys people who switch from DSLRs. In general, the R5 and the R6, they're made for people who want to switch from DSLR, because if you already have the Canon EOS R, well, you can stay with it and feel happy. But these cameras, they have similar controls to DSLR cameras and shutter lag-free EVF, which is important. In terms of practical appliance, well, you can shoot with the R and feel happy. One more thing that I like about the EOS R5 is the Canon log. It looks quite cinematic, and it has some additional dynamic range. If you compare it to Canon EOS R, it's more natural. I would say that it comes closer to the Canon Cinema line. I watched the Peter McKinnon review of the R5, and he told that it shoots just the same as his Canon C200. But I don't agree, because, well, I had the Canon C100 and I used the C200, and I can say that those cameras have more dynamic range. They have some different picture. All these cameras are nice, but the cinema line is just another level. Even if you see same parameters, but cinema cameras shoot in a different way. They have different algorithms. They're just better if you're a pure video shooter. But as for a hybrid shooter, these cameras better because they're smaller, they're cheaper, and they serve two purposes really well. They make nice photographs and they make nice videos. But anyway, if you're going to upgrade from some camera to the Canon EOS R5, my advice is just to wait some time until the price drops, because in this year, the 2021, there will be new cameras, and when we see any new cameras, all the previous models their prices drop. Well, I suppose that you know that if you buy a camera, well, in first month after its release, you pay extra and you buy it at the highest price. But it depends on your patience and how much you can spend. So if you can afford the EOS R5, you will be totally happy, I promise you. But if this purchase is expensive for you, if you have to make some compromises, I don't know, don't go to some vacation or to save money a lot, well, don't do it. It isn't worth it. Neither of camera isn't worth your, I don't know, life inconveniences. Because in terms of nice pictures, nice video, you can do it, you can always do it with a simpler camera. So this is my review, and see you in next videos.